If you hear a dog barking, just know that's not my dog. It's nighttime, by the way. I gotta say, I think this is the first time ever that I've filmed a video at night. Anyway, today I'm talking about Pineapple Street by, oh God, Jenny Jackson. This book follows a couple of characters. This is definitely literary fiction. I'm trying to remember where I got the recommendation from because it's not generally my cup of tea. It really reminded me of Malibu Rising. It like followed a family and it had like multiple POV, but they were all third person. I think it was three people. It was three different like POVs. I'm pretty sure they were all third person. And it's pretty much about like the 1%. Rich people. So it follows two sisters and then their sister-in-law who's married to their brother. Darlie is the oldest, and then the middle girl who's the sister-in-law, her name is Sasha. She's married to Cord, the Darlie's brother, and then the youngest one is Georgiana, and she's 10 years younger than the two other siblings. And I kind of felt like it was Sasha's. Oh no, it's 4 POV because it starts with Curtis. He just has like a preface POV, and then he also is the ending POV, so it's not really anything in between. He's kind of a character, but he's not that big of a character. It's literary fiction for real. I also want to call it like, I don't know, slice of life or something. Like, if you look up reviews of this book, there's a lot of people saying it doesn't have a plot. And to be frank, it doesn't have a plot. Very like, this is just 6 months in the life of the Richie Rich. And I'm talking rich. So the youngest girl has like a trust, and she looks up how much money she has in it, and it's $37 million. So we're talking rich. It starts though with Sasha's POV, and so I was feeling like Sasha was the main character the whole time. She's middle class, and she met her husband I guess she met him at school, like at college, and they got married, and then she's having kind of, she's like she does freelance work, some kind of art freelance work, and her husband works with his dad. And then the oldest sister, she's a stay-at-home mom at the time of the story, though she was working, and I don't remember the field. And then the youngest sister, she's working in a not-for-profit, which it's just because she doesn't need money. She makes $45,000 there a year, and like, it's just because she doesn't even need money. Like, she's not a good person. It's a not-for-profit. Like, it's a good not-for-profit. It's like for they employ doctors to go to different like third world countries, struggling countries, to educate other medical personnel on certain things. And I was entertained by this book, I guess you could say. It was an audiobook, and I can tell you, audiobooks go so fast for me. If I think that a book is going to be kind of boring for me, like it's like going to be kind of hard to read or something, I'll definitely get it in the audiobook. That was not the case like with this one. Like, I didn't know what it was at all. But if I would have known, I definitely would have gotten it in an audiobook like I did. If I would have read this physical, I would not have gotten through it. I could not have possibly made it through this book. It was just like, I mean, yeah, there was nothing to keep you reading. Like, there's nothing interesting. Okay, so Darlie, the first daughter, is married to a Korean American guy. They have 2 kids, and they kind of dip their toe into the issues that she has with like being a stay-at-home mom, and how it's like really hard for her to, like, she never planned to be a stay-at-home mom. And it talks a little bit about what she was treated like when she was working after she had her first kid, and how she was like, it was like a relief to stop working when she had her second. But then it's like over time, it's like so hard. And it goes through like one day with her, and it was like, she had a hard time getting through the day, which I have 2 kids too. I know it's like, it's hard to get through the day sometimes, but she's like, gotta, like nanny. She just has to like get through the weekends with the kids. Her kids are kind of funny and crazy, but it does kind of dip its toe also a little bit into like race talks as far as what it's like to have biracial kids, and like how people always talk about like how exotic they are. It's like so amazing that you have like a half Asian kid. Like, I want a half Asian kid, blah blah blah, which I thought was pretty apt. It was a little bit apt for me. So I did like that. And there was this like, all I can glean from her story is that also this story, which is when she went to a country club or golf club or something, and she went there. It was like a different one in a different area of the city, and it was like there were a lot of people of color there. And she was like, oh my gosh, have I been living in a horrible bubble where everybody at my golf club or tennis club or whatever is like white, and like, am I just living in this horrible tiny little bubble? Do I just need to get out more? And then she realizes, or somebody tells her, that it's Caddy Appreciation Day. And they were all caddies. I didn't know what to think of that. Next, Sasha, she was like the most complex character, I feel like, because it had a lot of the sisters' viewpoints of her. And also they went through this like friendship and then friendship breakup between the sisters and her. They think that she's a gold digger because she's like middle class and the husband is really rich, and the parents, her in-laws, like had her move into their old house, which is like their old money, and they like don't get rid of anything. They don't ever redecorate. It's a ton of old stuff that she doesn't want. It's like all the stuff in the kids' bedrooms, like in her siblings in-laws bedrooms, hasn't changed. Like, it's all their stuff is in there still. And the mother-in-law's like, oh, it's your house, but like she doesn't let her change anything, and she's just so frustrated about it. And she's like, obviously I'd rather live in my own place. It's like smaller in a different area, I don't care, than live in a place that doesn't feel like it's my own. And that's like a point of contention between her and the sisters, because they're like, how can she not appreciate this, blah blah blah. I can see the daughter-in-law's perspective way more. I can't imagine living like that. And then it also talks about her family a little bit, which they're very normal and middle class. Then the youngest sister, Georgiana, this doesn't happen late in the book, but there will be some spoilers here in her story. So she works for this nonprofit. She has like a crush on one of her coworkers, and he like notices her one day. Anyway, they start kind of talking at work, and then they start playing tennis together. There's a lot of tennis in this book. And then they start sleeping together. And then it's like they're hiding it at work because he's way higher than her. And then they go on this business trip, and one of her coworkers tells her that he's married. And she's like texting and says, I know you're married. And then like she's broken up over it. And then they like get back together and they keep sleeping together. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this for a long time, but that's not going to work for me. I can never like sympathize with a character that does this. His wife lived in a different city. It's not like she was abusing him or anything. His wife just lived in a different city. Like in one city he was with this girl, and when he was back home he was with his wife, and she never got over it. So then after, this was like the most unbelievable part, and this is the only like plot point in the entire book. He dies in a plane crash, which was so like, okay. She's like so broken up over it. She's like mixing her pain pills, or not pain pills, her medication, like anxiety medication, and her and like alcohol, and she's like getting really messed up, and everybody's really worried about her. She doesn't tell anyone, except she ends up telling Sasha, and then Sasha ends up telling the whole family after there's like this huge outbreak between them caused by Georgiana. Then she has like a complete turnaround because she has a friend, Curtis, whose family makes like missiles or something, and he has like a change of heart and he gives away all his money. He's like another super rich boy. He gives away all his money. And she's like, I want to do that. She finds out she has $37 million. And then she starts like trying to get rid of it. And at the end, they have a conversation around dinner that kind of makes it seem like they're becoming self-aware a little bit. And Georgiana was trying to be like, you know, I spent $10,000, which is literally nothing, on, you know, changing such and such women's lives in Pakistan for a year for giving them menstrual products, whatever. And the other people, like, her mom couldn't believe she was talking about menstruation at dinner, and it was just, anyway, nothing happened. She started dating Curtis at the end, and that's it. Nothing happened in the end. Sasha and Cord did get out of the house, and Darlie moved in, which was so great because that's just what she wanted. But as it happens, after reading this book, I've done a little research on the book. It turns out that the author is one of the top executives for for the publishing house. I don't know what you call that. It's not nepotism. And as it happens, okay, so if you've ever read Crazy Rich Asians, this book had a lot of similarities to that in just like explaining the wealth for a lot of the time. That was a lot of it, like explaining the exact area they live in, the history of the exact area they live in, explaining this family, the exact history of the wealth that this family has, stuff like that. And as it turns out, the area that she spent plenty of time explaining, that's like where the author is from. So that definitely changes, because originally I was thinking like, yeah, this book is fine. Like, it was kind of boring a little bit, but I mean, it entertained me and I finished it. So, but that definitely changed my viewpoint of it a little bit, because I truly finished this book and was thinking, okay, one character had a kind of turnaround. Like, one of these super wealthy people had a kind of a turnaround out of this whole family. And, like, even the turnaround that she had was very like, okay, she's still pining after this married guy that she was having an affair with, who died. And she still thinks that she was like kind of in the right. She was like, I'd like to think that he had maybe his love for me would have grown. His love for his wife would have like diminished. Horrible thing to think. And also, they were like, you can't give away all the money in your trust in one day to Georgiana. And she was like, okay, so I won't. So then she gave $10,000 away, which is truly a drop in the bucket when it comes to $37 million. She was going to start a foundation or whatever, so she was spending more money than that. But it just seemed very, so what is it? Like, is the author saying she's Georgiana? I couldn't understand the point of writing a book about wealthy people with no, like, it was very... like, this book was pro-wealthy people. I mean, it was very like, yeah, we got money. We can do whatever we want. It's nice to have. And they mention multiple times, like, hey, you need money in case something bad happens. Like, the oldest daughter, like, freaked out when she heard that the youngest one was trying to get rid of all her money, because she was like, you need that nest egg. You need that nest egg. And the youngest one was like, when am I ever going to need $37 million? And the lady was like, you never know. It's like, no, you'll never need that. She's like, what if one of your kids, like, you have a kid down the road and they have medical issues? What if you have a, like, you know, there's some, pretty much she's talking about like apocalyptic stuff. It's like, okay. I mean, I'm not anti-nest egg, but I am a little anti, like, you know, tennis club. And I just didn't feel, you know, it was like watching a car crash, especially Georgiana's story. That was part of the reason I continued reading, was like, oh, this is bad. I don't think that the author should have been the one who's getting her books published, as opposed to like some authors that really are having incredible stories that they need to get out. It felt like a book that was written for somebody who really, really wants, like a young person, and by young I mean like teens, who really, really wants to be rich. Like, that's what it kind of read like. Nobody had any repercussions for anything. Nobody really learned anything. Nobody really changed. It was just rich people enjoying being rich and kind of looking down on everybody else. There was a line that the dad said where they like apparently had never really asked about Sasha's upbringing. They just knew she was like way poorer than them. And she said, I've been comfortable my whole life. Like, my parents are middle class. Like, we've always had everything we wanted. We always went on vacations. We always, like, we had a very cushy life. I graduated with no debt. And the dad said, her father-in-law was like, oh, well, whatever percentage of America is middle class, but plenty of people call them middle class when they're not actually middle class. It's like, nothing is middle class to you, okay? You are so far high and above the majority of people. Yeah, I should have known it. I mean, I'm not a literary, like, I did not like Malibu Rising. Like, I really disliked it. So I don't know why I would think that I would like this book. Anyway, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Peace.